Welcome in. It is the NFL Draft Eve. We are 24 hours away from the start of the 2026 NFL Draft. All the speculation, all the rumors, all the reports, all the mock drafts will go away. Only for a short period of time, because they start up next year's mock drafts immediately. But we are going to get a lot of answers to a lot of questions in 24 hours. And obviously, through the next 3 days, we'll find out who are going to be the newest members of the Kansas City Chiefs, if it will be 9 draft selections, what that number will end up being, and what will the Chiefs do? This is what's been on everyone's mind, not just locally, but nationally as well. The Kansas City Chiefs, it appears the Chiefs are the most intriguing team going into the draft, coming off a 7-year stretch where they went to the AFC Championship game minimum, and they've won 3 Super Bowls, went to 2 more. And then you have your first losing season under Andy Reid, as well as under Patrick Mahomes with your as your quarterback. So there's a lot to figure out if you're Kansas City. And a lot of people want to know, can the Chiefs prove that this past year was a fluke? And will they be able to rebound and bring in the right players they need to this weekend to get back, not just above 500, but back into the playoffs? A lot of things to react to and talk about here on this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. I appreciate you all joining me. My name is Farzin Vousoughian. Thank you all for being with me on a Wednesday night. A lot to get into here. We're going to talk about the NFL draft, preview the Chiefs side of things. What will they do? We'll touch on that. And then get into some other bits and pieces of draft news that's come out in the last 24 hours that I think you guys will find interesting. So we'll get into all of that. And then the big news today, the Kansas City Royals have finally made a decision. Officially, they are moving downtown. And as I told you last night, it's going to be at Crown Center. And I mentioned it will be off the southeast part of the Crown Center area, off Pershing, which is where they have the Hallmark office buildings there. So that's where the Kansas City Royals will be. This has a lot of reactions, mostly positive from what I'm seeing. Definitely a different tone from the Chiefs whenever they made their decision. Listen, let me just say this off the bat. Neither announcement came at a great time, because when word got out 3 or 4 days before that the Chiefs were getting ready to make this move to Kansas, that was right when they were eliminated from playoff contention. So the timing of that was not great. And then the Royals, they currently have the worst record in all of baseball. So the timing of that certainly was not good. But it still seems to have gotten more of a positive reception than negative. Let me just say this. Look, I love Kansas City. And we've got to be completely upfront here. Kansas City is not a major market. And I think some people try to make it out to be one. Kansas City is a mid-market. And if you were to rank all the mid-markets, Kansas City's probably on the bottom half of that list. Now, where exactly, I don't know. And I think everyone's definition of what a major market and what a middle market is and what a lower tier market is. A lower tier to me would be like Omaha or Tulsa, those kinds of places. Kansas City, I think we can agree, is a middle market, but this city does deserve good things. There's a lot to do in this city. I know the national joke is, it's flyover country, but there's always a lot to do. I've loved seeing this city grow over the last 20 to 25 years. And I remember many years ago when the Sprint Center, now the T-Mobile Center, when they announced the construction for that. And the big hope was that they were going to get the Pittsburgh Penguins. That did not happen. But the Sprint Center has still been a very successful arena with a lot of events. I remember at one point it was considered one of the top 5 busiest arenas in the United States. I can't remember if it was the world or the U.S. I think it was the U.S. Then you have the Power and Light District. And I think that central part of downtown has really been revamped. I mean, now you have a lot of apartments there, a lot of residency, a lot of places to eat, drink, hang out, have fun, those kinds of things, which did not exist 20 years ago. I think that has really helped kind of revive some other parts within the downtown area. City Market, I would argue, has certainly seen more traffic than it has in past years. And I think it certainly helps that you have the KC Current there, regardless of their record. I know they've gotten off to a little bit of a slow start, but they're still selling out games, and that's helped the River Market. And now that the Royals are going to Crown Center, which is a way better spot than Washington Square Park. And by the way, I'm not having this discussion. People are trying to convince me that Washington Square Park is Crown Center. No, it's not. I've lived here my entire life, since I was 2, essentially. So essentially my entire life. I have never heard anyone refer to Washington Square Park as Crown Center, and I've never heard anyone refer to Crown Center as Washington Square Park. Now, are they going to make Washington Square Park a part of the Royals Stadium campus, if you will? Yes. They're going to make it a big thing, kind of like the Battery in Atlanta. So it's going to be revamped for sure. And I think that's going to help Union Station a lot. I love Union Station. That's my favorite part of this town. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with that, how it's going to help the Memorial Tower area with the World War I museum there. And of course, not too far, you've got the Crossroads. I think the Crossroads is a very underrated part of the city. I think they can do more to maybe clean it up, make it look nicer, because there are a lot of great places to eat and drink in that area. So if they can work on that, this is going to help the southern part of downtown by a lot. And I think the city certainly deserves that. I'm glad the Royals are staying in the Kansas City area. I still have some questions logistically about the specific location they're going to. I don't think they really address that. I know Mayor Quentin Lucas is so big on the streetcar and all of that. Listen, I've heard a lot of things about the streetcar. It's not what the mayor makes it out to be. But I will say this. With the Royals going to Crown Center, I love it because Crown Center has been damn near dead over the last, 15 years, I want to say, maybe even longer than that. It's not what it used to be. And so I like that this is an opportunity, an effort to try to revive Crown Center. I love that. I really do. And I know there are a lot of arguments. What was the best option for the Royals? Let me say this about the Royals. My last comment on the Royals before I move on here. And we'll talk really NFL draft the rest of the podcast. I still think from like if we're talking landmass, like logistics, the Overland Park location was great. Number one, they own the mortgage to that Sprint campus. That would have made things very simple for them. Would not have to negotiate with any businesses around. And then you have an entertainment district not too far, not the ideal one, which leads me to my next point. The major caveat is if that was the selected destination, we're talking Overland Park. And listen, I'm not knocking on going to a suburb. I mean, that's what the Chiefs are essentially doing. They're moving to KCK. KCK is nice. And listen, there's crime in that city like there is in KC Mo and a lot of other big cities with a big metropolitan area. Because I know people love to bring up crime in this city, and that's it. I mean, I'll find you a list of criminal activity in KCK and KC Mo in the last week. I mean, you're not going to find a city with zero crime, but that's not the point. The point I'm trying to make is that Overland Park location just seems way too obscure. Again, I know a lot of stadiums like the Cowboys, the Chargers, the Rams, the two New York teams, Jets and Giants. I know a lot of them are located in a suburb of the metropolitan area, but Overland Park just seemed like it's too far from 435 and 69. And listen, this is not necessarily too close to 35. I know it's going to be hard to match what the Truman Sports Complex has now, where it's literally right next to the exit and entrance of I-70 and 435. But I do think being downtown is great. Yes, there's going to be some congestion in that area. I know there's also some concern because there are a couple of hospitals there, Children's Mercy, Truman. What happens if there's an ambulance trying to get through there? I don't know. I when I was a student at KU, I was living in the dorms, and there were a couple times where I wasn't able to go to a home game. So I would just watch it from my dorm room. It's actually really interesting watching it from your own dorm room when you're living on Daisy Hill, which is just up the hill, and you can see Allen Fieldhouse from your window, depending where you live, if you're facing Allen Fieldhouse, where you can see the rest of the campus. But if you're not facing the campus, and there was one year where I was just facing the parking lot with the other dorm buildings, you can actually see the post-game traffic. And I remember, the reason I bring this up, there was an instance where a fire truck was trying to get by, sirens on, all of that. I'm like, you're not getting through. I mean, there is heavy traffic. Everyone's trying to leave KU, Allen Fieldhouse, and there's a fire truck that obviously has an emergency to attend to, and they're not going to be able to make it. Now, KU basketball is big in that town, so you would have to have planned for avoiding that part of KU. So I don't know. The logistics for construction does concern me. I know the Ronald McDonald House, they're building a second building, which is great for them. I think that's absolutely important. So that it's going to be very busy with all kinds of activity there. So listen, I'm excited, and I'll say this, and you can disagree with me. I think some of you will. Surprisingly, Twitter and Facebook, you get some different crowds here. I think both the Chiefs and the Royals did it right. They're both going to be spending a lot of money. And if you're going to be spending a lot of money, don't do it on renovations, especially since both stadiums are old. Yes, Arrowhead is historic. It is special in this town. I get it. It's got the noise record, all of those things. But from a business standpoint, and no one's been able to refute this when I bring this up, the Chiefs are not going to make a decision because, oh, we have a loud stadium and it's special. That's not what any sports owner. Find me a sports owner that was going to do the opposite of what Clark Hunt did. I know he takes a lot of heat from some of you, but no owner was going to do the opposite of what Clark Hunt did. No way. And I know that doesn't sit well with some of you. That's okay. It doesn't have to. But from a business standpoint, the Chiefs had every reason to move on. Kansas had the better offer. Missouri offered, they made the second offer, and they had a chance to make it better. But not only did they give a smaller offer, it was for a renovation. And then all of a sudden, at the last minute, the governor was like, yeah, we can revitalize this whole area, which is what the mayor said as well. And we can put a roof above Arrowhead. That pitch came out of nowhere. Where was this months ago? I don't know. A lot of things just did not make sense with the way Missouri handled that. Meanwhile, Kansas had the higher offer and a brand new stadium with a lot of business opportunities. Super Bowl, even if it's just one Super Bowl in our lifetime, that's worth it still for ownership. Final Fours, WWPLEs, major concerts. Yeah, that's all worth it for the Chiefs. And I know, again, you guys don't like that. Call them greedy. Call them sellouts. This is the business decision every sports owner would have made. Just have to get that out of the way because people still cannot seem to comprehend that. But that is the decision those two teams made. Listen, it's sad. The Truman Sports Complex, I mean, I have a lot of memories there. I still remember my first Chiefs game. I still remember my first Royals game. I remember my parents taking my brother and I to games and the memories you make from that. And then I've sat at Royals games, and this happened a couple of times where someone beside me or behind me, they're talking to their kids and they say, see those seats over there next to the fountains? There used to not be seats there. Now, I will say this, the renderings that they showed, I get why the scoreboard is behind right field, but that is an awkward place for the scoreboard because they want the downtown skyline to be shown behind center field. That's what they want. Makes sense. But it still seems right. I remember before the renovations in 2010, they had the K right behind center field, and then there was like not a video board per se, but it was just it was a screen that would just show you who's up to bat. And I think in between innings, they would have some sponsorships on there. I don't remember exactly. I was a kid, but that was weird having two video boards, one behind center field, one behind left field. That didn't make sense. And now they have one, or they're going to have one behind right field. That is a strange place. But that's just me. Listen, I don't hate it. I just think that's going to take some getting used to, but we'll see how it all works out. All right. Let's move on from stadium conversations. We finally know what both teams are going to do. A little weird how the Royals had a rendering right away, and the Chiefs have yet to do that. But the Chiefs are, Clark Hunt, who has not spoke to the media in a while. Usually Clark Hunt, he talks to the media after the season ends. And we did not get that this year. I think Clark Hunt was trying to avoid the media to avoid certain questions, especially about the NDA and Olathe. Clark Hunt usually talks to the media the week of the draft. It's usually during the draft when he does a press conference. I anticipate that they're going to announce the next Chiefs Hall of Famer this weekend. At least that's how it usually goes. So let's find out if Clark Hunt's going to be available then, because the media does not magically forget things. It will be asked. There are a lot of follow-up questions we did not get. So I'm intrigued to see what Clark Hunt's going to talk about from Arrowhead this week, or the practice facility rather, during the draft. All right. Speaking of the draft, should we get into it finally? Yeah, let's do so. So we know the Chiefs are going to be picking at 9 and 29 for right now. What are the Chiefs going to do? Do they stand there at 9 and just be patient, wait for one of their ideal guys to fall to them? Or do they trade up? Do they trade down if the board is not going in their favor? We know number 1 is going to be Fernando Mendoza. The Jets are at number 2. Boy, it just feels like it's going to be either Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles, one of the Ohio State standout defenders. Arvell Reese, very versatile football player, can do anything and everything for you, it feels like. Sonny Styles, one of the best interior linebackers in college football last year, the best interior linebacker in college football. I think it's going to be Arvell Reese. I would not dismiss the possibility of Jeremiah Love. Let Jeremiah Love have a year of experience getting ready for post-Breece Hall, I guess. And then next year, the Jets can get their ideal quarterback, and hopefully a good running game with Jeremiah Love will improve the passing game. This is where things get interesting, because if Arvell Reese goes number 2, what happens at number 3? There are a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation that the Arizona Cardinals right now are the most popular team for teams to want to trade with at that number 3 spot. If you're a team that needs an edge rusher, and Kansas City is one of those teams, and you want to get one of those 3 guys, Reese, Bailey, or Bain, you're probably going to have to trade up. I don't know what the Cardinals are going to do. I don't know what exactly the Titans are going to do. When you look at the top 10 after Fernando Mendoza, the only good offensive player that's worth taking in the top 10 is Jeremiah Love and possibly Francis Mauigoa, as well as Carnell Tate. Forgot about him. It's going to be interesting to see what order everyone goes, because it feels like a lot of defensive players are going to go off the board. It just feels like Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, David Bailey, Ruben Bain Jr., Caleb Downs. He may or may not be there at 9. Francis Mauigoa, he may or may not be there at 9. Cardinal Tate, same with him. Dylan Thieneman, I've seen that as well. There seems to be a lot of mock drafts that have these defensive players going early. If I had to bet on it, and listen, I know everyone's board is going to be different, but on the Chiefs board, when they have their rankings put together and all, who's the best player available going to be? Is it going to be an offensive player or a defensive player? I'm leaning offensive player. And I know a lot of you guys don't like to hear that. I put my final Chiefs mock draft out today using PFF's mock draft simulator. And I have Jordan Tyson on there. I put that on there because based on a lot of the recent reports and rumors that the Chiefs have strong interest in Tyson, or at least they've been very well connected to him. Again, this is just based on rumors and reports in recent days. But I just think at the end of the day, the only edge rusher from the top tier list of players that could be available at 9 might be Rueben Bain Jr. And there's a lot of concern with him. One is the arm length. That's been talked about by everybody. I heard Matt Miller, he was on with Rich Eisen earlier today and was asked about the whole arm length thing. Matt made an interesting comment. He shared a conversation he had with one NFL general manager. And, you know, history shows that no one with 31-inch arm length has had double-digit sack seasons. No one. And people feel like Rueben Bain Jr. can break that trend. People feel like he's the outlier in this draft. But he's highly regarded by almost everyone, it feels like. If there's like a popular player that would fall in the draft, a lot of people feel like it could be Rueben Bain Jr. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. None of us know exactly what's going to happen. I mean, look, I know that Sonny Styles, Jeremiah Love, Arvell Reese, David Bailey, those guys are going to go before 9. I'd be shocked if one of them was available by 8 for the Saints. But I just feel like this Rueben Bain thing, it's got some legs. And on top of that, the recent report of the off the field incident, apparently teams were aware of it. I know the media that put that out there received a lot of criticism for their reporting of it, making it sound like teams were not aware when a lot of other people are reporting that teams were aware of it. Brad Veach said he was well aware of it last year. So I don't know. You would have to ask every NFL front office about that. But the Rueben Bain thing is interesting. I don't know what's going to happen. If he falls to the Chiefs at 9, I think you'll have some Chiefs fans that would be excited to have him. And I think there are some Chiefs fans who would have their reservations about welcoming him to Kansas City. And I can understand both sides of it. Rueben Bain Jr., I mean, that dude did really well against a lot of good NFL caliber offensive tackles. But the arm length, listen, there's a reason why they do all these measurements and drills at the scouting combine. Some of them might be a little weird. Like an offensive lineman doing a vertical, I do not give a damn how high an offensive lineman can jump. I care about that with a defensive lineman to see if they can bat a pass. Certainly with guys in the secondary, cornerbacks and safeties, trying to pick off a pass. A little bit for wide receivers as well to see if they're capable of catching an overthrown pass. Slightly overthrown. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Rueben Bain Jr. If the Jets do take Arvell Reese at 2, Arizona probably becomes the most popular team, and they're going to be taking a lot of phone calls during their time on the clock. And I'm eager to see how aggressive Brett Veach will be. That'll be interesting to see. Now, let's say Rueben Bain Jr. is not there at 9, because there is a strong possibility of that. What do the Chiefs do? Because it sounds like Carnell Tate will not be there at 9 either. So it seems like they would either go Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver. A lot of people who consider Jordan Tyson the best wide receiver in this draft class, the reason he won't go before Carnell Tate probably is because of the injury history that he has. Now, let me just say this. If you're one of those people that need a little bit of convincing if the Chiefs take Jordan Tyson, but you're concerned about the injury history, here's what I will say. The Chiefs have Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. The Chiefs are very high on those two guys. They drafted them very early. Rice in the second round, and Worthy, they traded up to get him a few spots in the first round. Rice had 78 targets last year in 8 games. That is a high volume of targets. I still remember his first game back against the Raiders. 2 touchdown scores. Stat-wise, outside of the touchdowns, nothing impressive, nothing that really caught your eye. But the 2 touchdown scores, I mean, that just told you how badly the Chiefs missed him the first 6 games. And maybe you avoid an 0-2 start with Rashee Rice. I don't know. I don't like to go over hypotheticals from the past. But I think the Chiefs, they feel very highly about Rice as well as Worthy. Worthy was battling through that shoulder injury all year, unfortunately. Happened on the 3rd snap of the season. There's never a good time for an injury, but it is what it is. And he battled through it all the way through the 2025 season until the Chiefs shut him down the last few games, shut down Rice the last few games. You also have Tyquan Thornton, who shined in the first few games when those 2 guys weren't available. Rice due to a suspension, Worthy due to a shoulder injury. And Tyquan Thornton was a pleasant surprise early on in the year. He made some nice plays in training camp. Speaking of training camp, another receiver who was making a lot of plays in camp was Jalen Royals. And it felt like with the amount of involvement he had in training camp, it was going to set him up for a solid rookie campaign. Unfortunately, he had the knee tendonitis right before the season kicked off, and he was sidelined for a bit. And when he was cleared, ready to play, we only saw him run around with those pre-snap motions. He never got targeted once until the final week of the season, and he finally caught his first pass of the year in Week 18 against the Raiders. So Royals is really looking to make the most of his second season and hoping to stay healthy. That's going to be important. So let's circle this back to Jordan Tyson, because what's my point here? If Jordan Tyson comes in, if he gets drafted at 9, he's not coming in because this is the one wide receiver that you desperately need, and there's no one close to him that can match his talent, and that this is the guy who you're going to be throwing to over and over and over again. No, he's going to be part of a receiver room that's going to have really good depth. And look, I've said this all offseason, and I'll continue to say it until the season starts. You've got Kenneth Walker. A good running game will help open up the passing game. You've got Eric Bieniemy. You've got Chad O'Shea. The Chiefs were terrible last year with their receivers when it came to getting separation against man coverage. That needs to change. And I think coaching will really help make that change. Because we know Worthy and Rice can go out there and get open. We know Tyquan Thornton can get open. And Mahomes, he was not able to connect on a couple of those deep throws there when the receivers were wide open. And I think having better coaches will certainly help erase that. Here's the thing with Eric Bieniemy, because I know a lot of you guys are like, why are you so fixated on him? Because the Chiefs were in the top 6 in points scored and total yards all 5 years when he was the OC. Look, when Eric Bieniemy was the OC, how often did you see repeated errors with the Chiefs offense? I barely saw it. The Chiefs did not have a 1,000-yard rusher, or haven't had one in the Mahomes era. Should have been with Kareem Hunt in 2019, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. Chiefs still made it to 7 straight AFC championship games. And I know a couple of those were with Matt Nagy, but this is a Chiefs offense that took a huge step back. They got worse and worse every year with Nagy. It felt like a miracle that they even got to a Super Bowl the year they led the league in drops, and the year after with the injuries and the lack of being able to put teams away in the second half. So this Chiefs team, because I have concerns about the defense, which is why I think it's important to get Reuben Bain Jr. or David Bailey. Reese might be too hard to get, unless you can pull off a move to get the number 2 pick. Because the defense has some question marks and they're going to have a lot of new faces, especially in the secondary, the offense is going to need to step it up. The offense was great the first few years. Last couple of years haven't been as great. Fortunately, the defense kept them in a lot of games. And now it's time for the offense to go back to what it was in 2022, 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018, those 5 years, which, by the way, were coordinated all by Eric Bieniemy. So that's very important to me. So if you're going to get Jordan Tyson, or if you get lucky and Carnell Tate falls to you, this Chiefs offense has no excuses. They've got to step it up. Now, let's say both Tate and Tyson are gone. I know a lot of you guys might not like this. It's probably going to be between Mansour Delane, maybe Caleb Downs, or Francis Mauigoa. And of those three, I would want Francis Mauigoa. Now, Farzine, that's not exciting. We don't want a non-premier pick at 9. I get it. There's nothing sexy about drafting a right tackle at 9. Offensive tackles, no one talks about offensive linemen unless they're doing terrible. I get that. But I want Patrick Mahomes to be protected. Maybe on April the 23rd, drafting Francis Mauigoa might not be the most exciting thing in the world, but in mid-September or late September, early October, whenever Patrick Mahomes gets back on the field, Francis Mauigoa is going to be an exciting pick. April 23rd might not be an exciting day to get behind the Francis Mauigoa edition, but in September and October, you're going to be saying, whoa, the quarterback has a lot of protection, a lot of time to throw. Whether it's Justin Fields for a couple of games or Patrick Mahomes, if he's playing right away, eventually he will play. We know that. So Francis Mauigoa is not a bad pick like some of you are making out to be. I want to know from you guys right now. And yes, I see your comment, Len. Yeah, he has that asymptomatic injury, the herniated disc on his back. But let me ask this. If the Chiefs pick Francis Mauigoa, who in my opinion is the only offensive lineman worth taking in the top 10, Spencer Fano, I don't know what's going to happen with him. I've seen him get projected to go in the late 20s. I've also seen him go in the top 10. I took part in the Meta and NFL collaboration where they pick 32 different reporters, local reporters, national reporters, content creators, to be part of the NFL mock draft. I picked number 9 for the Chiefs. My options were Francis Mauigoa or Jordan Tyson. Dude, I was this close to picking Francis Mauigoa. I was like, man, is this smart? I went with Tyson because I think that's what the Chiefs will do ultimately. Because I think Ruben Bain Jr. will be gone. But man, in this mock draft, Francis Mauigoa started to slip. Fano went before Mauigoa. Listen, the Chiefs drafted Josh Simmons. Yes, he slid, and even Brett Veach acknowledged they were pretty fortunate with him sliding the way he did, but they were still willing to take a football player who might not have been ready for the 2025 season and training camp, but they were still willing to take him anyway. Fortunately, he was available to start off training camp and the regular season. So why would that be a bad thing to take Mauigoa, who, yeah, there is a little bit of a health concern for him to start off his rookie campaign with any NFL team? Because I think at the end of the day, in the long run, that will pay off. Listen, I get it. The Chiefs have the 9th pick. You have an opportunity to get a premier player, but we all know damn well not every great receiver is taken in the top 10. Look at Puka Nacua. And I'll be clear here. I know not every single player, not every single great player comes in later rounds. There are only a few of them. You don't find every single guard that pans out to be Trey Smith. Not every quarterback ends up becoming Tom Brady. And I get it. Tom Brady, greatest of all time. But I think it's really overdone by ESPN, and I think NFL Network may do this as well. Whenever it's time for the 199th pick, oh my God, the 199th pick, the Tom Brady pick, I remember Scott Pioli's first year because Scott Pioli came to Kansas City as a general manager, came from New England. And I think in his first year, if I recall correctly, he had the 198th pick. And the media was like, oh my God, he's got the 198th pick. They picked Tom Brady one pick later. He knows what to do here. Calm down. Not every 199th selection is going to be Tom Brady. Let's drop your expectations a little bit with that. Or maybe not drop your expectation. Stop with the overhyping that pick. I get it. It's the Tom Brady pick. But my point is, I mean, listen, Rashee Rice in 2024 looked like he was going to be a top 5 wide receiver until that injury. I know, small sample size, we'll never know, but he's got the potential. For crying out loud, stay out of trouble, stay healthy, and we might find out if Rice is a top 5 or a top 10 receiver. If Worthy can also stay healthy, that could be dangerous. So if you add Jordan Tyson to that mix, guess what? Jordan Tyson is not going to be forced, to go back to my point about the injury concerns that some of you have. Jordan Tyson is not going to be forced to get the ball, 150 targets for the rookie season. They're going to be spreading it out. Tyson might not get 1,000 receiving yards his rookie year, and that's okay. That would be like expecting Dee Ford to get 15 sacks because he was your first-round draft pick in 2014 when Tamba Hali and Justin Houston were ahead of you. And look, I know people remember Dee Ford for something completely different that we don't need to get into. But my point is with Dee Ford, I think everyone was so quick to give him the bust label because he was a first-round pick, yet a lot of people didn't realize he didn't have as many snaps because he was behind Hali and Houston for his rookie season. He eventually flourished and was a solid pass rusher, had a couple of really good seasons. I would never say, he was on any level of Tamba Hali's. Maybe he had one. Didn't he have 1 year with 15.5 sacks? Let me double check on that just to be sure. I think he might have had one really good season, like really, really, really good. The most he ever had was 13 sacks. That was in 2018. That was his last season with the Chiefs. Okay, we know how that season ended. But that was it's almost like who's that defender, the linebacker for the Bengals that hit Mahomes out of bounds, Joseph Osai. Joseph Osai had a really good season that year. But what does everyone remember Osai for, especially that season specifically, for hitting Mahomes late out of bounds and letting Harrison Butker get 15 more yards to work with for that game-winning field goal? I don't think that's a fair way to remember someone just based on one singular moment. Yes, it was the worst timing in the world because the Chiefs were going to the damn Super Bowl for the first time in my lifetime. That's okay. They won 3 Super Bowls. It was worth the wait, I guess. But I just feel like with Tyson, he's going to be kind of like that Dee Ford his first year where, okay, he's not going to get that much playing time right away. He might have 10 catches in week 5, but then in week 6, he might have 1 or 2, and it might be Rashee Rice who has 8 to 10 catches. And don't forget, you still have Travis Kelce, who, even at his age, he's still got some gas left in that tank, and he and Mahomes have that connection that we haven't seen much of in NFL history. I got a question for you guys. Let's say the Chiefs do pick a right tackle. Let's say it's Francis Mauigoa, because I think he's the only right tackle worth taking, the only offensive lineman worth taking in the top 10. Would you guys be okay if the 3 edge rushers and the 2 receivers, Tyson and Carnell Tate, if those guys are all off the board, would you be okay with Francis Mauigoa being the 9th pick? I would. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I think that would be a great move if you're Kansas City. If you're going to ask me for my top 5 wish list, and again, this is being realistic, I think David Bailey has a tiny chance of slipping. Reuben Bain Jr., he's 50-50 to be available at 9. My top 5 wish list would be David Bailey, Ruben Bain Jr. number 2, Carnell Tate number 3, Jordan Tyson number 4, Francis Mauigoa at 5. That is my top 5 wish list for the number 9 pick. And again, that's being realistic with who might be available at 9. So some of you guys wouldn't mind the addition of Francis Mauigoa. By the way, I love the AI summary on TikTok and the way they spell some of these players' names, because every 5 minutes it likes to give you a summary of what the host is talking about. The way they spell Mauigoa is pretty funny, but neither here nor there. So those are my thoughts on the number 9 pick. Now let's go to the number 29 pick. Again, this is with the assumption that they don't trade, because trades are hard to predict. What could the Chiefs do at 29? Because I think number 9 is going to be Jordan Tyson. At 29, you got to address the defensive end position. And I think there's also, because we've heard some reports and there's a lot of national speculation that the Chiefs need to improve their right tackle position. Because, listen, Jalen Moore is not a good right tackle. Just didn't look good in those games last year at right tackle. Left tackle, okay, not bad, not great. But you can really improve that position. And look, there are a lot of great right tackles in this draft. I mentioned Francis Mauigoa. We talked about him a lot. Not going to get into it too much more. Spencer Fano, another right tackle who maybe plays guard. We'll see. Other right tackles that will be available maybe in the 20s range, maybe close to 29. You have Blake Miller from Clemson. And then you have Max Ihanicho from Arizona State. Imagine that if the Chiefs got 2 ASU players. There's also Caden Proctor, who is a left tackle from Alabama, but a lot of the scouting reports suggest that he can also play right tackle. Now, I mentioned the edge rushers with Arvell Reese, Ruben Bain Jr., and David Bailey. Those 3 are the first wave of edge rushers who are expected to go in the top 10. Now, what about later in the draft? Because there will be a second wave of edge rushers that will go tomorrow night. And I think it's going to start, the second wave of edge rushers is going to start with Akeem Mesidor, who is Ruben Bain Jr.'s teammate from Miami. You also have Keldrick Falk from Auburn. Then you have Cassius Howell from Texas A&M. TJ Parker from Clemson. Zion Young from Mizzou, that I think a lot of you guys would like. There's also Mason Thomas from Oklahoma. Now, a couple of these guys might get taken in the early part of the second round. So the second wave of edge rushers that will go will start somewhere, I think, somewhere around the 20s up until where the Chiefs pick at 40. You're going to start to see a second wave of edge rushers go with the names I just mentioned. And to go over that one more time, it is Mason Thomas, Keldrick Falk, Akeem Mesidor, Cassius Howell, TJ Parker, and Zion Young. I would not be opposed to a defensive tackle, but I think there will be an edge rusher there. I think Zion Young and Mason Thomas will for sure be available at 29. But if you want to beef up the middle of your defensive line, and I would not have an issue with it, hey, maybe there's a chance that you could get a guy like Caden McDonald, who sounds like he might be the only defensive tackle that would get taken in the first round in the Threads mock draft that I took part in yesterday. No defensive tackles were taken. I thought that was intriguing. You have Caleb Banks from Florida, Peter Woods, Lee Hunter. I apologize. Lee Hunter was actually taken in the Threads mock draft, the only defensive tackle taken. That was a surprise. So yeah, you have those 4 defensive tackles that should be taken anywhere from the 20s of the first round to the early portion of the second round. There are 4 good options for your interior defensive line. Now, what if the Chiefs don't get Tyson? What if they were to target a wide receiver like Omar Cooper Jr., who played with the potential number 1 pick, Fernando Mendoza? Another wide receiver would be Denzel Boston from Washington. Casey Concepcion, there has been a lot of talk about him, especially the week of the scouting combine and the concerns from him. And he was trying to nullify those concerns, reassuring teams as to why he's the best wide receiver in this draft class. We'll certainly see how teams feel about that. We'll learn about it tomorrow night. Mekhi Lemon, I know he's been projected to go anywhere throughout the first round. Chris Bell from Louisville, someone who might go either late in the first round or early in the second round. That option might be there for the Chiefs at 40. I think a couple of, diamond in the roughs later in the draft. Elijah Sarrett from Indiana, another good Indiana receiver that's going to be going in the probably in the second day of this draft. I also like Zachariah Branch from Georgia, Deion Brooks from Oklahoma. Those guys should probably end up going around the same time. Antonio Williams from Clemson, Malachi Fields from Notre Dame, Ted Hurst. You might see a lot of those guys go in the third or fourth rounds. Those guys are certainly options as well. I think the Chiefs will get Jordan Tyson with their 9th pick, and I think they'll get Zion Young with their 29th pick. That is my official and final prediction for the first round of the NFL draft, provided that nothing happens within the next 24 hours with an injury coming up or a player getting into trouble. That is my final prediction. And that is a lot of that is based on reports, specifically with the number 9 pick for Jordan Tyson. As far as the Zion Young prediction, the logic there, my guess is that the Chiefs will put a strong emphasis on addressing the edge rusher position, and they feel like it's got to be done in the first round. And there might be a lot of edge rushers who are already gone by then. They'll take the best one available, and I think they'll end up settling for Zion Young. As far as cornerbacks that they might target in this draft, I really like Brandon Cisse, the cornerback from South Carolina. He's a really good option for you. Someone who could be a day one starter for Kansas City. Jermod McCoy has some concerns with the injury, so he might slip a little bit in this draft. Colton Hood has been a strong candidate to be taken by the Chiefs with their 29th pick. D'Angelo Pons as well. Some cornerbacks that you might be able to find later. And I bring this up because the Chiefs have been able to do a really good job with cornerbacks in later rounds, especially in the 2022 draft class. They had guys like Jalen Watson, Josh Williams, Nazeeh Johnson, guys who've done some good things. Nazeeh Johnson, not as good in coverage, but man, he did some really good things as a blitzing quarterback, using his speed to get to the quarterback. And we know Trent McDuffie did a lot of good stuff there as well. They do have Kader Kohou, who they got from the Miami Dolphins through free agency. He's someone that was a really good blitzing quarterback a couple of years ago. He didn't play last year due to a torn ACL in training camp. So we'll see how he'll do for the Chiefs this offseason and in preseason games. That's an under the radar player on the Chiefs defense, in my opinion. Kaiir Elam, former first round pick with the Bills, career has not panned out well. The Chiefs traded up to get McDuffie a pick or two before Elam went to the Bills. But when you look at some potential cornerbacks in the later parts of this draft, Malik Muhammad from Texas might be a day 2 or a day 3 selection. Will Lead the third from Texas A&M. I really like Charles Demings from Stephen F. Austin, Devin Marshall from North Carolina, Efesiens Prysock from Washington, Julian Neal out of Arkansas, Thaddeus Nixon from UNC. You've got some really good options at cornerback in days 2 and 3 of this draft. And I think they need to consider, if I had to guess, I think the Chiefs will draft 2 cornerbacks and 2 safeties this weekend. As far as some safeties, I really like Michael Taffy from Texas, Jalen Stroman, another safety from Notre Dame, Cole Wisniewski from Texas Tech, Zakee Whitley from Penn State. Those are some strong candidates to be taken in the late parts of day 2 or anywhere around round 3. So those are some guys to kind of keep your eye on. I know VJ Payne from K-State, another safety that might be taken in this draft. Those are some players to keep an eye on. One player that I really like that might be available in the 6th round, which is Kansas City's last pick for now, would be that fullback from Navy, Eli Heidenreich. Now, he's kind of undersized for a fullback, but he's very similar to Taysom Hill, where he is a gadget player and can do all kinds of different things. And I think with Andy Reid's creativity, especially having Eric Bieniemy back, I'd be very intrigued to see what the Chiefs will do with a guy like Eli Heidenreich and how they can implement him into the offense. So I'd be eager to see the Chiefs try to get him, whether he falls in the draft and is available in the 6th or 7th round if the Chiefs trade down and he happens to be there, or if he goes undrafted. I would love to see that, because I think the Chiefs might consider bringing back the fullback position. I know I've said that earlier in the offseason. The last time they had a fullback was Eric Bieniemy's last year in Kansas City. Maybe that's a coincidence. I personally don't think so, but I would love to see the Chiefs consider bringing back the fullback position. The last position group I want to go over here, I know we spent some time talking about Francis Mauigoa, Spencer Fano, Blake Miller, Caden Proctor, Max Ahanacho, guys who are right tackles, or in Caden Proctor's case, a guy who could convert from left tackle to right tackle. But what about a right tackle later in the draft? I'm looking at a guy like Demetrius Crenover from Texas A&M. He might be a 4th-round pick, and I know that's not ideal, but I thought Crenover was a good right tackle when he was at Texas A&M. I also like Gettings Dunker, who I think should be gone by the 3rd round. If the Chiefs get the 2 players they really like in the first rounds, being a wide receiver and an edge rusher, I could see them targeting Gettings Dunker out of Iowa. I could see that. So those are a couple of right tackles I have my eye on, and I would like to see be brought to the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas always squirting all over themselves for nothing. Just let the draft play out. I assume you meant Kansas City. I mean, listen, we're just having fun with the speculation and all of that soon. All that matters is that the team will be called. Oh, okay. That goes back to your previous comment. Okay, fair enough. Veach is very good at signing cornerbacks. He has signed some after the draft. Yeah, and listen, who was it? Christian Roland Wallace? I'm interested to see what he might look like, because I thought he had a good rookie season, a quiet rookie season a couple of years ago. Didn't really see much of him this past season. And when Trent McDuffie got traded, I thought he was a strong candidate to replace him as the nickel cornerback in Kansas City. We haven't necessarily seen that yet. Lynn says will be too expensive to pay a free agent quarterback. We need to. Well, they paid some, but we're not talking top tier cornerbacks that are going to reset the market or anything like that. Parsing, don't you feel a right tackle at 9 would be too high when you have an opportunity to get a playmaker? Listen, you can make that argument. I'm not gonna push back on that. The only pushback I'll have is like, if you want a playmaker, fine. I'm not gonna debate you on that. What I will say is, if you're anti-right tackle because you just don't think that's a position you should get at 9, why not? Isn't protecting Patrick Mahomes worth it for you guys? I don't want another Super Bowl 55 and 59 man. I mean, listen, the Chiefs were still favored in Super Bowl 55. We kind of realize, okay, look, Mahomes is human. I don't want another Super Bowl 59. That's why I'm in a dream scenario. Like, if I was in charge, if Brett Veach said, Farzine, you, of all people, I'm going to ask for your input. What should we do? Ideally, you know, if you can get some luck on your side, I would love it if the Chiefs got Reuben Bain Jr. at 9. And if they got Caden McDonald or Peter Woods, Caleb Banks, one of those defensive tackles at 29, or maybe Lee Hunter at 40 in the 2nd round, because I want to beef up that defensive line so badly. Because then you have Kyrie's Tonga, you have Ashton Gelati, Omar Norman Lott, guys who you've brought in either through the draft or free agency in the last 12 months. Because guess what? The Chargers had a banged up offensive line going into the playoffs. Did the Patriots apologize for it? No. Will Campbell was battling through injury. Did the Seahawks apologize for it? No. The Chiefs had offensive line issues going into Super Bowls 55 and 59. The Bucs and the Eagles did not hesitate. They capitalized. They took advantage of it, which is what you're supposed to do whenever your opposition has a player that's not available due to an injury or a suspension or whatever it is. You must take advantage of that. And Matt Miller made a very interesting comment here. It's not a bad thing to have a really good left tackle and a really good right tackle on rookie deals. You're already paying a lot of money to Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. And look, I remember last year, the Chiefs, they were number one in the NFL in offensive line contracts. Their offensive line, I mean, Humphrey and Smith were great. Simmons had his moments, good and bad. Suamataia, he was also, good and bad. It felt like a rookie season for Suamataia because he was changing positions. And then you have Jawaan Taylor, who was a whole different issue. It's been kind of tough for the Chiefs trying to be good with pass protection. You've got to protect Patrick Mahomes. And listen, I think we can all agree through the first two games, my immediate thought with the Chiefs was their pass protection is already better than last year's. I remember in week 1, the game in Brazil, I was like, Mahomes can't find anyone down the field. He's taking forever. And then I realized, he's got protection. It's not something we had last year. I'm trying to go on Spot Track here because you can find the rankings by teams and where they rank in terms of offensive line and where they rank there. Maybe hold on. Let me search something. Because I want to know where the Chiefs rank this year in offensive line spending. Again, I know we're halfway through the offseason. Okay. So the Chiefs last year in 2025, this is not correct. Bear with me here. Oh, see, even with Jawaan Taylor cut, they don't consider that. But I do remember posting. There it is. Okay, so the Chiefs last year ranked second in money spent on the offensive line. According to Spot Track, it was $71.7 million. Dude, Mahomes should be sacked half the amount he was with that much money spent. Jawaan Taylor was getting paid $27 million. I think Jawaan Taylor was the highest paid offensive lineman last year. He's a very inconsistent pass blocker. And on top of that, the penalties. I mean, he was just not worth bringing back. Now, for this year, the Chiefs, this is actually a surprise to me, they rank third in money spent on the offensive line. $75.7 million. Denver is second with $76 million. And Carolina is first, just under $94 million spent on that offensive line. If you're spending almost $100 million on your offensive line, your quarterback should never get sacked, it feels like. That's a lot of money to spend on your offensive line. So again, to go back to the point about how some teams dealt with offensive line injuries, you have to take advantage of that. And the AFC Championship rematch between the Chiefs and Bengals, the Bengals had a couple of, I think, 3 offensive linemen missing from that game. And I remember bringing it up that week, and I had Bengals fans all week long telling me, it wasn't an issue against the Bills. Yeah, it wasn't an issue against the Bills. Doesn't mean it won't be an issue against another team. And fortunately for Kansas City, they capitalized. Chris Jones had 2 sacks. His first time ever getting a postseason sack. And I'll never forget that second sack on third down, getting to Burrow when it looked like the Bengals needed just 2 more first downs to get into field goal range. They avoided crisis with that one. And we know the karma that's been going around the Bengals since then. But neither here nor there. For the Chiefs, if you have a strong defensive line, if you've got depth there, and you just happen to play a team that's either not good with their offensive line or they're missing offensive linemen due to injuries, have a day, defense. And Spags is going to have a lot of fun with that. With a 4-man rush, with blitz packages, he'll do all of that. With Nick Bolton, with Drew Tranquill, Jeff Bassa, Kader Kohou, who I'm excited to see. He's going to have a lot of fun doing that. I think Jaden Hicks could be a good blitzing safety too. So we'll see how all of that goes. I'm excited to see what happens in 24 hours, as well as the rest of the weekend. Real quickly, before I get out of here, I know we've talked about this a few times on the podcast. We've been doing it for a while. Who wins the job between Pole and Moore, assuming they don't take Fino? See, Pole's not a right tackle. He's played left tackle, I think, all in college and in his rookie year in the NFL. In the preseason, he never played right tackle. It's always been left tackle. So I don't know if they would even give him the opportunity. I think they want Pole to be the backup left tackle in case Simmons has something that comes up again, or if Simmons has another injury, because he's had, unfortunately, 2 season-ending injuries in a row. Now, I will say this, as a possible they shut him down after the Chiefs were eliminated from playoff contention, yes. That's certainly, I mean, I'm not going to write him off completely because of that, but I think they want Pole to be the backup left tackle going into the season, because I think they realized that was a mistake. So I'm going to go with Moore for now at right tackle, assuming they don't draft Fano or Maui Noah or Blake Miller. If you take away offensive penalties, how much better is this offense? I'll tell you this. I think they win the Denver game. 1,000% they win the Denver game, because Kareem Hunt had a reception, a nice catch and run play where he brought the Chiefs to the 2-yard line, but a penalty from Taylor took him back, and I think that ended up leading to an interception. It was a bad throw by Patrick Mahomes. Should never have made that throw, but it also could have been prevented if Juwan Taylor did not commit that penalty. Look, the volume of penalties, that was an issue. The timing of them was even worse. Like, it always happened in the most inconvenient moments. Not that there's a convenient moment to commit a penalty. I guess when you're up 3 scores in the fourth quarter, hey, no big deal. You're up by 3 scores. Not that coaches are ever okay with that. Coaches are always going to be pissed about that kind of thing, even if you're up by a lot. But man, it just seemed like those drive-killing penalties were so frustrating. Because I've seen Chiefs fans say, oh, maybe he comes back for a cheaper price. Hell no. I don't care if if he was making $27 million like he was this past year, or $1 million. That dude was not worth bringing back. I guarantee you, for all of you that were wishing, because this was a shock to me, for all of you who wished that he came back for a cheaper price, you were going to complain about him and the penalties. Just because he was making less money does not mean he was going to commit less penalties. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in Atlanta. Is he going to get picked on again because he's now a Falcon, not a Chief? I don't know. But listen, he was told what the rule is. He was told what he needed to do. There's no excuse for any NFL player to commit, what was it, 50 some odd penalties in 3 years? What team allows that? What team allows that in the NFL? I mean, if a college football player commits that many, what's the average per year? No, what, 18 or 19 penalties a year for Taylor? Oh, that's almost a penalty per game. More than 1 penalty per game. If a college football offensive lineman does that, the coach is yanking their ass out of the game. They're like, dude, you're no longer our starting offensive tackle, guard, whatever. You're committing way too many penalties. So the Chiefs were beyond patient with Juwan Taylor. Listen, I'm glad they moved on from him. It had to be done. And I'm glad they did not bring him back for a cheaper price, because that would not have been worth it. All right, last thing from me. I know I was about to talk about this, but you guys asked a couple of questions that I wanted to address. Guess what story is not going away, whether you like it or not? The Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini story. Vrabel did not do himself any favors yesterday with that press conference, because he basically said the opposite of what Kay Adams said. And then today, guess what happened? The New York Post got another exclusive photo of the two of them eating breakfast alone. Now, you can't really see Vrabel in the picture, but you can see, a good portion of his body and what he's wearing, and it's very similar to what he had in the other picture, where they're holding hands, locking fingers. Look, whether you like it or not, the story's not going away. Because guess what? come football season, especially if the Patriots are losing, this is going to be a meme. Listen, I will even argue somebody out there, NFL memes, for example, they'll find a way to create some kind of Diana Rossini type of meme for the draft this weekend, or a Mike Vrabel type of meme for the draft this weekend. And then come training camp, preseason, regular season, you're going to see it again. Someone's going to take a picture of Vrabel, a screenshot of Vrabel, I should say, whenever the Patriots are in a blowout loss, and they're going to say something to the effect of, oh, he misses Diana Rossini or something like that. So for all of you that want this to go away, it's not going away anytime soon. But I'll tell you what will make it go away, because I know Patriots fans want it to stop so badly. How ironic. Patriots fans want a narrative to go away? Shocker. You know how Vrabel can win people over? Win. If you go out there and start 9-0, dude, Vrabel will be the most forgiven person ever. I mean, listen, he didn't kill anybody. It's not like he committed a terrible crime. This is not something he did that was illegal. But morally speaking, it's a really shitty thing to do. But I'll tell you what. If Vrabel leads the Patriots to a 9-0 start, if they can have a season very similar to what they had last year or slightly better, which the only way you can improve is by winning the Super Bowl, guess what? This is all out the door. And this might be still a story on Diana Rossini's end, but it'll go away if Vrabel just wins. I hate to say it, but isn't that how we tend to forgive people in sports? Whether they do something bad legally or morally, ethically. Because remember Tyreek Hill, and I know the 2014 incident, we have a lot of questions about what really happened, but at the time, we were very well convinced that he choked and strangled his pregnant girlfriend at the time. And because he was such a good football player in 2016, his rookie year, and in 2017, became a top-tier wide receiver, we were so forgiving of it as humans. Mike Tyson, I mean, the things that he was accused for, and he came back, and people were willing to be forgiving of it. Listen, even the most serious allegation someone gets, and yes, an allegation is an allegation, I get that, but people are willing to forgive a player, or in this case, we're talking about a coach with Vrabel, if all you do is win. Am I wrong here about how people go about it? You might think that's wrong morally and ethically. Sure. I've seen people say, wait a minute, you're willing to root for this guy because he's winning? Every sports fan base does it. I know a lot of sports fans love to criticize another fan base. Hey, you support this player, he's a criminal. Every fan base has rooted for a team where their player has committed a crime. Whether it's domestic violence, drinking and driving, robbery, assault, whatever it is. Every fan has rooted for their favorite team whenever there's a player on their team that's committed a crime. Lynn says it's not our business. Sure, you're not wrong. But here's the problem. Number one, Diana Rossini is a reporter and a voter. I mean, is she doing her job objectively as a reporter and voter, or is she voting with a bias? Is she running information straight to Vrabel? And here's the other part of it as well. And I know there's a whole discussion about LGBT in our society today and in the last 10 years, but TreVeyon Henderson had an anti-LGBT quote that he got from the Bible. And whether you agree or not, that's not what I'm here for. But I will say this. Vrabel did speak publicly and said that Henderson needed to be educated on his faith. Oh boy. When you publicly say that a player needs to be educated on his faith, when you have signs, and this is what I'm told, this is what the media has been told, when Vrabel has signs in every room that says make good decisions on and off the field, when you preach as highly as Vrabel does, and he's known for preaching this, for good character, sorry, this topic is fair game to me. You don't think so? That's fine. But this is not going away because Vrabel is viewed as a massive hypocrite now. And he's dodging the media. Sure, he did a press conference, but he didn't answer any questions. Just because he spoke does not mean the story's over. There are questions that will be asked, whether he likes it or not. Did you hear Diane might have been involved with the Crosby trade? Yeah, I've heard that. I don't know specifically what she might have done for that. The AJ Brown thing is the one that's more serious. Oh boy. Listen, like I said, the story's not going away because June 1st is the expected date. Because the way contracts work, they're a little different on June 1st, rather before June 1st. It's easier to trade some players or cut some players on June 1st than it is before June 1st. Sounds a little weird, but that's the way some NFL contracts are structured. So AJ Brown is expected to be traded to the Patriots on the first week of June. And guess what? There are going to be a lot of Diana Russini jokes whenever that trade is made. I mean, Vrabel's got to take it on the chin, and so does Russini. Listen, it's funny because Russini, on her resignation letter, which is essentially a statement, she posted it as such, almost. She basically was saying, hey, everyone's making up BS about me. And Vrabel was like, yeah, I've had difficult conversations. Oh, boy. He just basically said, sorry, Diana. I'm gonna let people know that they're essentially right about what happened. Yeah, it wasn't a girls' trip. It was not a girls' trip like she thought it was. But the story's not going away. It's just not. But hey, we'll take a break from that story this weekend because it will be all NFL draft. So here's a reminder. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Time, we will do a pre-draft live stream. I'll chat with you guys for a bit. We'll have some fun doing that. Then we'll sign off. I'm going to go watch the draft. So will you guys. Come back whenever the Chiefs make their first pick, which is presumably going to be at number 9. As soon as the Chiefs make their first pick, we will go live, and I will have the link for you guys to call in, and I want you guys to call in. I want to hear from all of you and your thoughts on what they end up doing with their first pick. And there's a pretty good chance we might stay on through the rest of the night. If we kind of exhaust all the conversation possible at 9, and if it's not a fun live stream, then I'll sign off, take a break, and then we'll come back on once the Chiefs make their other pick. And if they trade down, hey, we'll still go live and react to it as well. So we will talk about that as well. A lot of things to get into tomorrow. 6 p.m. Central Time is when we'll start. And then our second live stream will start whenever the Chiefs make their first pick tomorrow night. I'm Farzin Vousoughian. Thank you all for joining me. Hey, if you enjoyed this podcast, give it a like, tell a friend, hit the share button. That really helps out the podcast, helps out the social media. And if you haven't, listen to yesterday's podcast with Nick Lowry. I put a couple of video clips out today. If you guys can like those, comment on those, share those, that really helps out as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so, youtube.com/@thechiefszone. And if you joined the podcast late and you want to check it out in its entirety, it'll be archived very shortly on Facebook, YouTube, X, Apple, Spotify, anywhere where you can download and listen to a podcast. So check us out there if you missed any part of this podcast. My name is Farzin Vousoughian. Thank you all for joining me on this NFL Draft Eve. One more sleep. I will talk to you all tomorrow night. Peace out. Take care.